Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Jay Saki here, coming in with a review. And look who I have back! I have Elias here. We've not had him here since my very first review, when we reviewed Wicked together. And now, after all this time, he's back.
Wow.
How's it going?
Hello. Things are going all right. Glad to be back. And Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as well.
Merry
Not too late
Christmas.
for that, because tonight we are reviewing a Christmas film. Isn't that right?
That's right. The Bishop's Wife from 1947. So I want to go into the premise of this movie, okay, is you have a bishop, an Episcopalian bishop, and he's trying to build a new cathedral, and he and his wife, they're in an unhappy place in their marriage, and he's having a hard time getting the funds to build the cathedral, and an angel in the form of Cary Grant shows up to set things right.
Or something like that.
Or something, yeah. So I wanted to first talk a little bit about my history with this film. About some years back, maybe somewhere between 3 to 5 years ago, I was watching some YouTube video around Christmas time talking about, top Christmas classics everyone should watch, kind of a thing. And it had on it, Miracle on 34th Street and It's a Wonderful Life. And then it was and of course, The Bishop's Wife. And I had never heard of The Bishop's Wife before. And I was like, okay, it looked, classy enough. So I started watching it years ago, but did not finish it. I remember thinking it felt kind of strange. I just had other things to do, but it was very strange while I was watching it. And then back in December, I think you texted me saying you were watching it, and you said this was a very odd film.
Yes.
You had something to say about it. We'll get to that. And I was thinking, oh yeah, I should finish that. So I decided to go back and watch it from the beginning, and it was a very odd, strange, bonkers movie. Seems to have the veneer of being a black and white classic that's beyond reproach, and you can't criticize it, because if you do, you're just stupid and uncultured and don't get black and white movies.
Something like that.
Yeah, The Bishop's Wife.
Yes, it's a very, very strange movie on so many levels. I bought a copy for my father for Christmas because I'd never seen it. That was the context. I was watching it this year. I was just kind of flabbergasted at how weird it is. It's an uncanny Christmas movie. Nothing about it is quite right.
Do you want to talk about the details of why it's so strange and off key, or should I?
Oh, we can, bounce off each other here, but I can lay out some of the surface level weirdness here.
Right. How about you go ahead?
The number. Sure. We'll go point by point. I'll start with one point. You can do another that comes to mind. Obviously, the biggest point is in the title, for us at least. Maybe not for every one of our listeners. The idea of a bishop having a wife is itself pretty weird. Even most Protestant denominations, I don't think it's common for bishops to be married and called a bishop. Maybe a presbyter or something like that.
I just figured it was an Episcopalian thing. I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, if I was a small kid, I'd be like, what? But yeah, I get that. He's Episcopalian, so they can do that.
Presumably. And I guess, 1940s America, that was not weird. Although looking up the history of the film, apparently a lot of people were turned off on it initially because they thought it was a super religious film. Ironic.
Well, I think the movie thinks it's a super religious film. It's
maybe that's another weird point. You can do a great drinking game with this film. If you really don't want to get drunk on Christmas Eve, here's a great drinking game. Watch The Bishop's Wife. Take a drink every time somebody mentions the name of Jesus Christ.
Is it because they don't mention the name of Christ enough?
They don't mention it at all. There's maybe one vague, reference.
Okay,
not even the name. There's maybe one vague reference. That was all I noticed.
Does it have to? I mean, it's not like It's a Wonderful Life mentions Jesus, or Miracle on 34th Street mentions Jesus. If it came up in context...
It's a Wonderful Life's a good movie, for one thing. The Bishop's Wife is about a bishop. a religious leader in the church.
Okay, so
It's
you
a
just
Wonderful Life is not about a priest or somebody directly involved in the church.
I had no problem with them not mentioning the name of Jesus. Okay, I didn't get that as a problem.
That's interesting. It just seemed really out of place for me that, I mean, there are scenes where the bishop, prays, where he, wrestles with his faith over, who the angel is. Is this really an angel? Is this a demon sent to test me? Which is totally fair. It's just, why isn't he, if this is the plot, why isn't his faith a bigger part of this specifically? That just weirded me out. I'm
Okay,
interested it didn't really weird you out. I would have thought it would have, but that's interesting. Well, what's another weird thing that you noted?
okay, for me, all the problems just had to do with the presentation of Cary Grant's character, Dudley the Angel. Basically, the bishop is very frustrated near the beginning and he prays to God to send him an answer. And that answer comes in the form of Cary Grant as Dudley. Yes, Cary Grant plays an angel named Dudley. There's something about that name, Dudley. And this character, he's supposed to be like helpful, but he acts more like demonic the whole time in a very strange way
That's the
because
other weird thing. Yes, he acts like a demon the whole time, like
like
somebody who's purposely tempting or not Cary Grant, David Niven to, do the wrong thing.
like
And he's playing pranks on David Niven, like he's freaking Mephistopheles, Faust's demon. It's so weird.
it would be like if you had one of those older black and white movies where someone says like, I would make a deal with the devil if it made things right, and then there's that suave person
Yeah.
who's like, you ranked, you called for me, who are you? The answer to your
That
problems.
would have made this movie work. That would have made it work a lot better. If, yeah, David Niven, in a moment of weakness, just said, I just want to build this cathedral so bad that if the devil could make it happen, I would let that happen, or something like that.
And then Cary Grant would be Dudley the devil, Dudley the demon.
Yeah, then the demon, would want to convince everybody else that he's an angel. But David Niven knows the truth, and he's the one who hates him. Because that's really how it seems in the film. Like, Dudley and uplifts everybody else, except David Niven. And it's not David Niven's fault.
Oh, you know what? You know what? Okay, that reminds me. Another one of those classic devil things that happens in these kind of movies is there's the part where somebody, they say like they wish that the devil would show up to help them out, and then they make a deal with the devil
Sure, yeah.
of some kind, and then at some point they regret making their deal, and they're like, I wish you just go away, and they're like, oh, but I can't go away. You asked for me. And Dudley does the exact same thing at some point towards the end. He's like, oh, but Reverend, you wanted me. And he's like acting devilish and demonic the whole time. Okay, so specifically, I think this is the big thing, is obviously the bishop and his wife, they are having a sort of a bad point in their marriage. There's a lot of very
Yeah.
blunt exposition where she's like, we used to make everyone happy.
On dates, and you spent all this time with our daughter. It was great.
And so Dudley takes the bishop's wife out to give her a good time. And I'm assuming this was all very weird to you also?
Yeah. David Niven is just doing his job. And apparently that's a bad thing.
The point is the idea is he's obsessed with building this cathedral and he's kind of forgetting to take care of his wife in the process. And
Sure, yeah.
like I thought like, okay, whatever. Maybe the wife's not doing well, and maybe Dudley as an angel has to help her out, give her some reprieve. But it's like it's like he takes her on a date, and they're like happy to be together,
Yes.
and it just feels strange. Like maybe there was like a cute way to do this. It just came
Oh,
across as all wrong.
actually, I know the way. There would have been a cute way to do this. So we can get to that a little later. I think Dudley being cast as an angel is the mistake here. But was there anything else we wanted to talk about before we get there?
Another one of those like demonic Dudley moments was they go to the house of some professor to talk with him, and Dudley keeps like using his magic to refill the guy's glass of wine like again and again and again, and then he fills the guy's wine bottle again before he goes, and it's like, well, why? I'm sure the directors thought it was just a little cute thing, like, oh, he's an angel, he's just doing little things to
Yes, and
make people
You know,
happier, but
clearly it's supposed to make us think about JC, our Lord Jesus Christ.
I just
That's
felt
another weird thing. Ugh. Oh, we'll get to that later.
I just felt like the whole him like refilling the guy's wine glass again and again, like he was just it just seemed like he was lightly indulging the guy for comedic effect and just came off as once again very like
Yeah,
demonic.
and not to mention later on, and even more, traditionally demonic, he gives the professor, secret knowledge about this obscure Roman coin that he had.
Yes,
Said, "Oh, this
yes.
this actually belongs to Cleopatra. This is one of the rarest coins in the world.
Back when I was
You
seducing
idiot."
her. No,
Yeah, apparently.
he doesn't say that, audience, but it's just one of those things. Because the idea is like
Yeah, I guess we can
he's
take away the implication that he's a womanizing angel here.
yeah.
Wants to make little Nephilim with Loretta Young.
At this point, I'll just ask, like, did you enjoy watching the movie?
Not really. Honestly, not really.
I enjoyed the film. It was fun to watch. I thought it was a crazy movie, but I enjoyed watching it. It was like weird watching a movie that, yes, the movie has this veneer of being like a Miracle on 34th Street or a It's a Wonderful
Yeah.
Life. It just, it's one of these.
Yeah.
I actually recommend people watch this film and play Spot the Bad Writing. Because here's my
I don't
thing.
even know if the dialogue or anything like that is badly written. It's just the plot.
Sure, spot the
It's
weird plot
frankly
points.
cartoonish.
Here's the
And
thing: if there's a sense out there that like older movies, people back then were more moral and more virtuous, and you can guarantee good wholesomeness out of those older black and white films. I will say,
sure.
in most cases, that may be the case, but it's not always the case. For example, I actually don't. Well, I don't really care for the original Miracle on 34th Street. That's also a movie where I think it's really weird and strange if you actually stop and think about it.
Well, that's interesting. I quite like that movie.
Okay, well, we'll put that on a shelf, but I think that's a movie that's actually not great, and the remake does it so much better. Maybe we'll talk about that
Yeah,
another
another
time.
time.
But
Another time.
the bishop's wife is one of those movies where it's like, no, this movie's all wrong. What were they thinking? What were they smoking back then when
In a
they made
nutshell,
this?
yes. Yeah, what were they thinking? And apparently, I did a bit of research on this before
Go
we
for it.
started recording. The Bishop's Wife is based on a book, a novella from 1929, also called The Bishop's Wife. I forget who the author is, but anybody, you can just look up The Bishop's Wife book, and it will come up. I believe it's public domain at this point. You can even read it if you like. I did not do that, but I read a few reviews of it, and it seems relatively different from the film. It focuses more on, the title character, the Bishop's Wife. It seems the book is mostly about her, inner life, her ennui, and what's kind of touched on in the throughout the movie of her being dissatisfied with the bishop, being so busy and materialistic, and she wants him to, help her take care of her daughter and all that stuff. That's basically what it's about. I can see why they wanted to change the emphasis for a more feel-good comedy movie. There are so many ways it could have been done better.
Did you
The
catch?
acting, I think, is fine as well. Obviously, Cary Grant, David Niven, Loretta Young, great.
Do
In their
you?
roles, as well as they're written and plotted out, they do fine. I think they're all a little confused too, perhaps, but they do the best they can.
Mind if I add one more sour cherry on top of this movie?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, so do you remember? I think the bishop is trying to get money from some kind of a benefactor to like build the church, and she wants like her name on it or something. Do you remember this?
Yeah, she wants it. She wants a bunch of like a side chapel dedicated to her late
Right.
husband, which, by the way, is totally traditional practice. That is completely legit. I don't see why that's a problem.
Sure. Well, well, okay. So,
This may be more of a problem for David Niven's character, specifically. But yes, go on.
But if I recall correctly, because I don't remember all the details, Isn't there a thing where, like, I think the movie portrays it as like the benefactor has a cynical angle to it, like she wants the attention or she wants her husband to have attention. It's played up as like the benefactor is being sleazy about it by wanting the side
Yeah,
chapel dedicated to her husband, and
that's how
essentially,
it's depicted. Yeah,
okay, which that maybe that is the case. I depending on what
sure.
if you're going into it with pride. But then she pulls out and says she doesn't really want to fund the church anymore. And I think she says she wants to build poorhouses. And I think she says something like, instead of building one big roof for the cathedral, you could build 100 poorhouses.
Well, yes, towards the end of the film, I think Dudley visits her and talks to her about again secret knowledge. Brings up the man she wanted to marry, but he was too poor, and she was afraid of being poor, so she regrets not marrying that man who she loved in the first place. I guess that plays on her heartstrings and makes her change her mind. Right.
Yeah, but the whole Dudley's acting strange enough, and we're saying like he acts like a demon the whole time. So there's like this weird, uncomfortable, demonic angle to this film, which I'm sure was just maybe which some people would say maybe that's just like misplaced writing. But then when she says like, "Oh, I could build 100 poorhouses rather than building the roof of our church," um, Russian Revolution, anyone? Communism?
Hmm.
Karl Marx? That money's
It
being
is a little
wasted. That
bit
money's being wasted on
socialist.
a church to honor an invisible God in the sky. That money should be going to the poor.
Yeah, it's sort of what we know, the classic Judas angle. That perfume could have been used to buy stuff for the poor. That sort of thing. It's a very common non sequitur, and not that surprising for something like that to be in this film. But yes, another frustratingly weird angle to it.
Do you think
Just
the filmmakers were secret communists, or is it just like they're just trying to be cute?
maybe I think they were definitely not religious people themselves. They were just trying to go off of tropes that they knew vaguely from culture. Because if an actual religious person were making this film, they would have. You could have now. Here's the thing: you could have done a lot of the things that Dudley struggles with so much better if instead of making him an angel, a massive cosmic intelligence influencing events for the good, which is a very hard character to write, by the way. Very hard character to write. Why didn't you just make him a saint?
Oh, so you're saying you'd have him just be like a friend of the family who shows up and who has to do things.
Well, you could even give it a supernatural angle, necessarily, church approved. Just make him, I don't know, Saint Nicholas or
Okay.
any saint or Saint Francis. I don't know, anybody that most people know about. Because when you give it a romance angle, like this movie does, where the positive character has to struggle with temptation, a saint that works for that. Saints do struggle like that, and he would have positive motivation to set himself right. Do good by David Niven and Loretta Young, and not lead them both into further problems the way Dudley kind of does.
This is a very interesting angle that you brought up here. Very interesting rewrite.
I think it fixes most of the problems.
Well,
It's so weird because an angel, it's such a pure archetype.
I want.
None of Dudley's character makes sense
I
unless
want.
he's a demon, like you were saying.
Yeah, I actually needed to drive the point home because I mentioned like, oh, the date with the wife is a little bit like weird or very weird, like they went too far. And I was reminded at the very end, he straight up tells her, he basically says like, I've been smitten with you since I met you. I want to stay in this century with
Yeah,
you. And he just flat out says he's in love with her, and it just felt like really over the top for a late '40s movie. And yeah, because
it
so
was really weird. Yeah,
and here's like I was raised in a family where it was like, you can't be irreverent to God. You cannot be irreverent to Jesus. You cannot be irreverent to the Holy Mother. And I know that there's a lot of media, even some Christian media, that plays around with like angels being a little bit cynical or sarcastic. In my
sure.
family, that was like taboo. It was like, no, even I hadn't thought about it for a while, but because certain people in my family said like, no, you can't do that because angels are like perfect beings closest to God. They deserve better than that. I was raised with that, so Dudley is not acting like an angel.
He just isn't, by any metric. Even, the cultural image of an angel. And I guess they were trying to be maybe a little bit, subversive, countering the cultural narrative of what an angel is. Maybe. That's the best I got for, the way they wrote Dudley here. As, oh, this is a whimsical alternate take on what an angel is. They bring joy and positivity and order into the world, but also, angels have wants and needs too, right? Just like us. Something like that. But that's just not what an angel is. We have a word for angels like that. It's a demon. That's why, yeah, putting him in this spot that his character's written as, it's an angel written as a demon.
Okay, so let's.
And like I said, I think it could work if it was a human and not it didn't have to be a spiritual being, a vast cosmic intelligence here.
Okay, so let's wrap this up a little bit. One, do you recommend the movie? I do lightly recommend the movie because I find the movie funny. Okay, like funny in how
That's
much
fair.
it fails. It's like watch this movie, you will have a fun time, and it
Yeah,
will
that's fair.
it will give you something to think about in terms of improving your own writing. If you ever aspire to like think critically about what a story should do, or if you'd write your own story, it allows you to use your imagination. Like what we've been doing this whole time. We are imagining a better story. So for that, I do give the movie a light, ironic recommendation. And I say it's educational on that level because I'm all about, you have to learn and get some education.
If you have a friend who you want to banter about a weird movie, I think it's perfectly valid for that. I thought it was pretty boring and uncanny most of the time. Typically like Christmas movies. I'm not a downer on Christmas films at all. I think Miracle's quite good. I think It's a Wonderful Life is fantastic. It's as good as everybody says, that one at least. I'll even, guilty pleasure. I like Elf okay. It's like, you have some, let's say, Christmas chimes. You ring one down, you go down to the next one, you ring, it makes a beautiful sound. Next one makes a beautiful sound. This one, it's just a little bit off key. That's kind of how this felt. It was sort of the last Christmas movie I watched at the end of the season too. So this felt like, I went down the list of all the classics. Ding, 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 dong.
Well said. Okay, with that, I think I'll say take care, everyone. Hope you learned something, but, only you can be the judge of how educational these reviews are or how educational a movie is. Sometimes there's nothing to learn, and that's what you learned. Or sometimes you learn something about yourself.
If you love The Bishop's Wife and we're totally wrong, please address your hate mail to whatever email is in the description. Or contact link, whatever
I think,
Jay Saki puts there. I
yes.
know a lot of people love this movie. A lot of people do love it, and you are entitled to your opinion, my friends.
Yep, with that, take care, everyone. Merry
Farewell.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.